This is the world's first super ultra-wide OLED gaming monitor, and it looks amazing. This 49-inch monitor is Samsung's latest addition to their Odyssey gaming monitor line. I've used all kinds of ultra-wides and OLED monitors in my past, but never anything like this one. The Odyssey G9 OLED was designed for gamers and comes equipped with a lot of features that I'm sure tons of gamers will appreciate. There's a lot to like about the monitor, like its super high 240Hz refresh rate and that insane color accuracy of the OLED display. The monitor comes with a two-piece stand, a power adapter set, remote control, micro HDMI to HDMI, as well as DisplayPort cable, and some paperwork. The power adapter comes with a massive power block, which is not the best for cable management. So if that's important to you, make sure to keep that in mind. The first thing I noticed about the monitor is its super thin profile, as well as that overall lightweight build. The entire thing weighs so little, I feel like most people will be able to set it up by themselves, but I'd still recommend getting a partner to get it mounted if possible to avoid damaging the display. The OLED G9 has a silver metal body across the entire backside, as well as all of its I/O ports. It comes with a bit less ports than most conventional monitors you'll see out there. There's one HDMI 2.1, one mini HDMI, one display port, and a 3-port USB-C hub. Now, you can connect multiple devices simultaneously, but you won't be able to use two devices that make use of the same ports, as there's only one of each. There's also Auto Switch Plus built into the G9 for smart switching between different input sources as you turn them on. I've got a PS5 connected to the HDMI 2.1 port and a PC connected to the display port. There's also RGB lighting built into the rear of the monitor, which uses CoreSync technology to project a game's on-screen colors into the real world for more immersion. If you don't care for it, it can easily be turned off from within the settings menu. For me, I find that it doesn't add much in the way of backlighting, as it is barely noticeable, so you might need to seek something else for that purpose. Around the same area on the back, there's a point for attaching a VESA mount plate for mounting onto a desk arm or anything similar. This plate also comes supplied with the monitor and would need to be installed before any mounting can be done. You can also use the supplied stand to hold up the monitor if you prefer that. If you choose to go this route, you won't need to install the VESA mount plate we just talked about. The stand comes in two different pieces that need to be attached together using 2 screws and no tools. Once that's done, they just clip and lock into the back of the monitor. The stand also looks very clean and elegant and can do things like tilt, raise, and lower to help in finding that perfect viewing angle for each individual. There's also 2 5-watt speakers built into the back there as well, and they do not sound half bad for what they are. Or at least they sound better than I expected. The overall sound produced by them is decent, but the bass is not booming. It is not the greatest. If you want better audio than the monitor is offering, then you might want to invest in some external speakers. Let's talk about that beautiful display. So the G9 comes equipped with an incredible 49-inch super ultra-wide display that has an 1800R curvature. Now the curve isn't too sharp, but it's still very much noticeable and adds that immersiveness you get from ultra-wides. I do wish that it was a bit lower than that though, maybe around 1000. That way the curve would have been a lot sharper and more immersive. The native resolution of the screen is 5160 by 1440 with a maximum refresh rate of 240Hz, which opens up the gate to some really high frame rate gameplay. There's also some really thin bezels wrapped around the screen, which was unnoticeable to me most of the time while I was using it. The 5K dual QHD resolution of the G9 is similar to having two 27-inch 1440p monitors side by side. That might not be ideal for productivity related work like reading documents, photo, or video editing. I'm not saying you can't get away with it, but I'm saying there's better for that purpose, if that's the main purpose of getting this monitor. For gaming on an OLED screen though, that resolution definitely doesn't matter as much. I still haven't come across a 5K OLED ultra-wide monitor that's similar to having two 4K monitors side by side. Now that would be sick. I think that could be the perfect hybrid for both productivity as well as gaming. Currently, there isn't a lot of gaming monitors out there with a super ultra-wide 32:9 aspect ratio that also come equipped with an OLED panel. The OLED G9 is definitely in a league of its own with very few comparable monitors out there right now. The G9 also uses Samsung's Neo Quantum Processor Pro technology as well as a glossy finish on the screen, and this really elevates the image quality on that OLED panel even more. The glossy finish is great as long as you plan on using the monitor in a dark space most of the time, as most gamers tend to do. When the room was brightly lit, it was still possible to see and use the G9, but I'll tell you guys right now, this thing was definitely built to be used in dark spaces. Using it in a bright room also worked great. I was able to see and everything was rich. It was just better in a darker space. The OLED panel used on the G9 provides elevated blacks since OLED displays shut off pixels for dark scenes, pretty much reaching that perfect black level. They're also known to produce near perfect colors, making visuals more vibrant and way more appealing to watch. The monitor comes VESA certified with Display HDR True Black 400, which looks great when gaming, but not so much everywhere else. With HDR turned on, blacks and darker colors become a lot richer, and the overall gaming experience is 10 times better. The G9, just like most other OLED ultrawide monitors I've used in my past, also suffers from the same low peak brightness issues even with HDR turned on. Honestly, it's not enough of an issue unless you strictly plan on using this in a bright room. And even at that, it's dependent on each individual. The settings menu can be accessed through a small control knob and button combo on the back of the monitor. You can also do this as well as other things with the provided remote control. Within the settings menu, you have access to a lot of different ways to fine-tune the monitor to your own viewing preference. The remote is super slick, it's compact, and it barely leaves any footprint wherever it's placed. It comes equipped with quick access buttons to common streaming services, volume control, as well as a bunch of different things. The remote uses a rechargeable battery, which I definitely prefer to the usual double or triple A's. Charging it requires a USB Type-C cable, which I'm sure everyone has at least one of at this point. The G9 isn't just a gaming monitor. It's also a smart monitor with features like you'd expect on Samsung smart TVs. That means the monitor can be used as a standalone device without being connected to any source devices. There's a media as well as a gaming hub for watching movies and accessing game streaming services like Xbox Cloud Gaming and GeForce Now. It can also act as a hub for accessing and controlling smart home devices, which is great if you already use the Samsung SmartThings app. The monitor comes with built-in Wi-Fi 5, which is okay for game streaming, but honestly, I feel like this should have at least Wi-Fi 6 or 6E for its price. I guess game or movie streaming isn't the main thing I'd expect anyone to buy this monitor for. You'd certainly never be able to maximize its full potential that way. I tried using Xbox Game Pass subscription to access cloud gaming directly on the monitor. Now keep in mind that the monitor also has Bluetooth support, so you can also connect a wireless controller to it if you prefer to game with one. I wasn't able to get a stable enough connection to get a solid gaming session through cloud gaming through the monitor. That usually depends on a lot of factors, including the strength of the Wi-Fi at any given location. Watching movies through the Media Hub is as easy as using Tizen OS on Samsung smart TVs. Just keep in mind that you're going to have large black borders on the sides. It's super easy to navigate through the menu vertically or horizontally through a selection of apps and more, and you can download tons more through the App Store if you care about it. You can also check on every device that's connected or switch between them from here as well. To me, the smart side of the G9 is only useful as an additional way to enjoy using the monitor. I'd certainly recommend making sure you have the right PC to help in getting the most out of it. Let's talk about gaming on this behemoth of a monitor. Now, we already know that the G9 comes equipped with a 49-inch ultra-wide OLED panel, which in itself provides some great advantages for gamers. With the OLED panel comes a super low response time, high color accuracy, and some solid viewing angles. The 49-inch can be really immersive as well for gaming, but only if the game supports that 32:9 aspect ratio of the monitor. I find that it works best for first-person shooters, racing games, and honestly, any game that natively supports the super ultra-wide aspect ratio. Games or movies that don't support the 32:9 aspect ratio will end up with some large black borders on both sides of the image, and trust me, it does not look very appealing to look at. Next, we've got the HDMI 2.1 as well as the display ports, which both unlock up to 240 Hz of screen refresh rate. That means high FPS gaming, and when combined with the low response time, reaction time is so much faster from the moment you press the button on the keyboard or the controller to the moment you see the action happen on screen. The G9 also comes equipped with AMD's FreeSync Premium Pro, which is great for syncing the refresh rate between the monitor and the device that it's connected to. Now, this won't be useful for every setup that uses this monitor, especially ones with an NVIDIA GPU like mine. The game bar is a feature that I started to see in a lot more monitors now. The G9 also comes with one, but I feel like the one it comes with is a bit clunky looking, but maybe that's just me. The bar can be accessed quickly by pressing and holding the play pause button on the remote. It'll let you fine-tune display settings and improve gameplay without having to ever leave your game screen. It shows things like the current FPS count, HDR and VRR status, screen resolution, and also provides access to game mode settings for tweaking different things. To maximize the gaming features of this beautiful monitor, you'd certainly want a capable PC with a powerful graphics card. I've got an RTX 4090 in the PC I use with the monitor, which allowed me to really see the true potential of that OLED display. I also made sure to set the display's refresh rate to 240Hz and turn on HDR before I tried any games at all. The first game I tried out on the monitor was Apex Legends, and this is a first-person shooter if you didn't know. I feel like it's one of those games that was made to be played on the G9. Colors were super vibrant and the game was able to really use the native resolution and high refresh rate of the monitor. It was certainly more immersive to play on the curved 49-inch widescreen, and I was able to see a lot more with the monitor almost fully wrapping across my entire line of sight. I know ultrawides aren't the preferred choice for esports, but for casual online FPS games, it's definitely a treat to play on. The next game I tried on the G9 was Forza Horizon 5. I feel like it wouldn't have been right not to play a car racing game on something as wide as this. Forza also supported the full 32:9 aspect ratio of the G9 through my PC, and it looked absolutely stunning on the OLED screen. The 240Hz refresh rate combined with the GPU was also letting me get close to the 240 frames per second, and all I can say is it looked buttery smooth, and the blur effects while driving looked amazing. I don't even play Forza a lot, but playing it on the G9 made me more interested in playing. Another game I tried on PC was The Last of Us Part 1. Now, this is a story-driven game with some really nice visuals, which I expected the G9 to enhance further, and it did. On the PC, the game looked amazing in that native 5K resolution with maxed out graphics settings. Playing at high frame rates was a treat, and the level of immersion from playing the game definitely took a step up with the ultra-wide on the G9. There's a lot of dark scenes in the game, and they all looked great and really rich on the OLED panel. Next up, I decided to try out some games on the PS5. Now, the PS5 is unfortunately limited to 2560 by 1440p, so it doesn't look as nice when paired with the G9. I noticed that it stretches out the image on the screen at the 32:9 aspect ratio, and when it's set to 16:9, you have those black borders on the sides of the image, which is very unappealing to look at like we talked about. The PlayStation supports 1440p resolutions, but only up to 2560 by 1440p. For a 5K monitor like the G9, it can never truly maximize that potential. Honestly, the image quality still looked decent, don't get me wrong, but there's just less ultra-wide resolution supported by the PS5 in comparison to the PC. I definitely wouldn't recommend getting this to use strictly with a console like the PS5 or the Series X. Besides the lower maximum resolution, there's also the lower maximum refresh rate of the consoles. That means you'll be limited to a maximum of 120 frames per second in every game played on each console, but on PC, you're able to push that up to 240 frames per second, which is how you really maximize the monitor's refresh rate. It's not a cheap monitor, so you might not want to spend all of your money just to be limited by a console. The OLED display coupled with HDR also elevated the gaming experience on the PS5 in general. I do a lot of photo and video editing, and so high resolution is a key factor for me when picking up monitors for that purpose. The G9 has a low resolution for its size and did not look great when I tried editing some photos on Adobe Photoshop, at least not for me. For office work and watching videos, I'd also say look elsewhere since the G9 does not seem to have been designed for those. Documents, photos, and videos never look sharp on it because of that very low resolution. The G9 might not be the best choice if your plan is to use it primarily for office work. This bad boy was built for gamers and it'll shine brightly when used strictly for that purpose. You can definitely get away with using it for some light office work as well, but I wouldn't suggest using it as a primary productivity monitor. Now, the price is eye-watering for sure, and I'm certain a lot of people aren't willing to spend that much and settle for anything less. If you're considering picking this up, I'd suggest making sure you know what the use will be. You certainly want to have a PC worthy enough to sit right next to the G9. Now, if you want this for your console only, just remember the price of the PS5 in comparison to the price of this and the fact that you'll be limiting the monitor to performing at half of its capacity. I wouldn't use this with a Mac as well, as there are better options out there that make the Mac shine better. The same goes for anyone who's looking to get this for mainly office work. Now, go ahead and comment down below what games you would play on a super ultra wide OLED gaming monitor first. I'd like to know down below. Leave any other questions you've got down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. It's Tommy, and I'm out, y'all.